get started. Hello, my name is Ted Hulsy. I'm Vice President of Marketing at eFolder and your host for today's event. Welcome to our eFolder Partner Chat Series. This webinar series brings together leading eFolder partners for business-oriented discussions. Today's topic is From Backup to Business Continuity, Communicating the Value of BDR to Clients. Today we are joined by Callum Woods, Sales Manager of Tandem Systems. Before we go through today's agenda, let's cover a few housekeeping items. Today's session is being recorded. The recorded version of the webinar will be made available on eFolder's YouTube channel. We will also make copies available of the slides to those who registered for the event. We've put all participants in listen-only mode. You can enjoy the audio portion of today's event by either streaming it on your computer or by dialing in over the phone. Questions are strongly encouraged throughout today's discussion. We've planned a special Q&A section at the end of today's webinar, but you may submit your questions as we go, and we will try to address your questions on the fly. Today's presentation follows a logical flow. After introducing our partner guest, Callum Woods, and learning more about Tandem Systems, we will discuss the challenges that partners and clients alike face when it comes to backup and disaster recovery. We will then introduce eFolder BDR for ShadowProtect and learn how Tandem Systems has successfully communicated the value of business continuity to its clients. Then we'll cover how to overcome client objections when it comes to adopting a business continuity solution and discuss how eFolder marketing makes adopting and selling BDR as simple as possible, particularly for our European partners. Now let me introduce Callum Woods. As a sales manager at Tandem Systems, Callum is responsible for driving profitable growth within the business. Callum has been in sales for over 10 years. His goals aren't centered around selling, but more around finding solutions for clients. Callum is passionate about business and slightly obsessed about finding better and more efficient ways for businesses to work, helping customers meet their goals through better use of technology. Callum, thanks for joining us and welcome. Callum, do I have you still? just checking in.
Can you hear me okay, guys?
Yes. Welcome. We can hear you.
Yes, you do. Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear us okay? Okay.
Hi. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Welcome.
Great.
So Callum, why don't we start out by...
Yes, I can hear you fine, Ted. Thank you.
Okay. Well, why don't we start out by having you spend a little time talking about Tandem Systems, the company, what kind of clients you serve, and that sort of thing.
Okay, so we're a provider of managed IT services in the UK. We operate in the northwest of the UK predominantly. We do have clients nationwide, but we tend to focus around our sort of core neighbourhood, if you were. In terms of the products and services that we sell and promote and provide to our customers, we typically will provide a broad range of managed services. Of course, backup, BDR solutions being one of them, and we're generally the one-stop shop for our customers. We tend to serve businesses in the sub-100 user category. We've got a couple of businesses over and above that number of employees, but predominantly that's the market that we sit in. So as a business, we were founded in 2010. At the moment we've got probably around 75 to 80 customers off the top of my head, and we're looking to grow that number over the next 12 months. And in terms of the tools that we use, we constantly look to innovate, to provide better business solutions to our customers, with the ultimate goal to help our customers be more productive, buy better, and serve their customers better.
Okay.
So that's pretty much all about us, yeah.
Okay, and then I think, Callum, it's always kind of interesting for other managed service providers and IT service providers to understand kind of the tool set you use.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys using any sort of RMM tool in your business or PSA tool to organize yourself?
So We use Enabled by SolarWinds as our RMM platform. That's integrated to Autotask, which we use for our ticketing portal and CRM and ERP type solution. So those two work well together.
Okay. And talk a little bit about, I think you've got a couple kind of vertical markets where you focus. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the vertical markets, we have, I mean, generally we cover a broad range of sectors. We've got quite a few customers in the financial services industry. We deal quite a lot in the manufacturing vertical. But typically, because of the nature of our business and the flexibility in how we can adapt, we get a real understanding of customers' individual businesses. So we don't tend to align ourselves to any specific vertical.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yep, sure. And then tell me a little bit about, kind of how broad your solution, portfolio is. Will you be the complete outsourced IT resource for your clients in most cases, or do you specialize in certain solution areas?
No, absolutely. I mean, the customers that we deal with, we are their, we're their IT provider for pretty much everything. That goes from connectivity to all the way through to business continuity, and everything in between.
Okay. Well, great. That's a great introduction. I think, you certainly fit the bill in terms of the types of managed service provider that really makes business continuity a key part of your solution offering. Can you talk a little bit about, what do you see normally? Why don't we do this? So what I'm going to do in the next couple minutes is just talk about, just introduce, when we say eFolder BDR, what do we mean? And then we'll hand the ball back to you, Callum, to talk about your specific client use cases and talk about those examples particularly.
Okay.
Okay? So,
okay, sure.
So in the next couple slides, what I want to do is just give everyone who's joined us some additional context. I think when you go and look at the backup space in the small business market, whether it's in the United Kingdom, or on the continent, or over here in the United States, what you see is there's usually a hodgepodge of different solutions deployed in terms of different flavors of backup. You have everything from legacy tape systems to kind of antiquated local only, semantic backup exec deployments. You even have small businesses that have often deployed a consumer-grade solution, consumer-grade backup solutions that are maybe improperly configured. And the problem is that most of these types of solutions are poorly configured, prone to different kinds of risk because, a disaster could happen and they could be improperly configured, and the data of the business might be at risk. On the other hand, many of these clients are coming to expect the benefits of business continuity. So they want uptime and resiliency. They want guarantees from their IT service providers that their mission-critical infrastructure and applications and line of business applications will be available during the business day or 24/7 no matter what. And often they're not unless you've got the right set of solutions deployed. The other challenges that partners face is that, unless you've selected the right BDR solution with the right kind of wholesale business model and licensing scheme for you, it can be really difficult to predict your profits and your cash flow over time. And then, of course, you've got to pick the right vendors to get the job done. I think we've talked already about kind of the client concerns, but I think the one thing we're seeing is that the market is definitely switching from I need you to do more than just protect my data. You've got to protect my productivity, and you've got to prevent downtime. If you're in, I mean, so many industries today have very specialized software applications where the business cannot run effectively, and work cannot be done at all in some cases if some of these mission-critical software applications do not have resiliency and uptime. And so, eFolder, we are a company that's headquartered in the United States, and it has expanded into Europe, and we operate a data center in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and we serve the UK market. We have several sales colleagues on the ground there. We have a development office on the European continent in Sweden, which comes from a company that we acquired in Sweden. But the thing that makes eFolder rather unique when you're looking at the different companies out there you can consider working with is we have a much more open approach. We see managed service providers like yourselves well-positioned to meet the rapidly evolving needs of small businesses. And then what we do is we have a more cloud-centric approach where we build the storage, compute, and recovery cloud environment that allows managed service providers to deliver an end-to-end business continuity solution. And then we've partnered with 5 different flavors of image-based backup software that are the flavors that are commonly preferred by MSPs, VARs, and IT solution providers. And each one of these different image-based backup software packages can be used with the eFolder cloud in a very seamless and highly integrated way. Today's discussion, Tandem Systems uses eFolder BDR for ShadowProtect, which is the flavor that is developed by StorageCraft. And so that's going to be the focus of our conversation today. But the overall, the key here is that we have an open, flexible approach to how we support partners, and that flexibility extends to you getting to elect what kind of software you use. So when we talk about eFolder BDR for ShadowProtect, what is it? It's a complete backup and disaster recovery service that combines the power of ShadowProtect software for local imaging of the servers and marries that up to the eFolder cloud, which allows MSPs to deliver an end-to-end business continuity solution. So let's look, a picture tells 1,000 words. How does this work? So what you would do is you have clients, they have production servers. Those servers may be running line of business applications, or they may be running other critical applications like the Exchange server environment. You put the ShadowProtect software agents on those production servers, and you use the image-based backup functionality to create an initial full and additional snapshots over time of those server environments. In most cases, but not all, but in most cases, you can deploy a server locally in the client environment, and we call that a BDR appliance. And that BDR appliance serves 2 functions. It is the
sorry, it's had my
yep. I'll let you get that.
Sorry, Ted.
Yeah.
It's okay. Sorry.
Yeah, so the BDR appliance serves as a local storage point on the one hand for all of the images and backups that are created in the environment. And then in addition, if your client needs or desires on-site recovery, that BDR appliance can be a recovery point if one of those production servers fails. One of the beauties of BDR for ShadowProtect is it's actually fairly agile in terms of how you deploy it. You can also just use a network attached storage for local storage, or you can even attach a physical hard drive to the production server if you have a very small environment like a 1-server environment. And so that's kind of the flexibility of the solution. And then all of the data gets backed up to the cloud, to the eFolder cloud. So in the case of the UK clients and partners, that would get backed up to Amsterdam. And then in the context of a disaster, I mean, your first line of defense, and most of the time what you're doing is you're doing either a file level recovery from the BDR appliance, because of some data that's been either corrupted or lost by users or the business owner. But in other cases, you may have a situation where you have a massive disaster at a location, floods, fires, different kinds of disasters, massive power outages, ice storms, you name it. These things happen, and the business might be rendered inoperable, or there's some sort of site-wide disaster. That's when the ability to recover from the cloud becomes vitally important. All that data is backed up to the eFolder cloud, and then partners have multiple different recovery options in the context of a disaster. The data can be literally, shipped to you on an emergency basis from the data center. And then in other cases, you can use the eFolder Continuity Cloud, which is a cloud-based recovery environment that allows you to stand up client servers in the cloud on an emergency or as-needed basis. So that's kind of what the total solution entails. In the case of ShadowProtect, partners worldwide have the choice of either sourcing the software from StorageCraft and StorageCraft's distribution channels in the given geographies, or you can source it from eFolder. And we supply the ShadowProtect software plus all of the cloud services in a tightly integrated, highly cost-effective bundle. So with that, that kind of gives some context, but just when you're looking at, what a BDR service from eFolder gets you, it gives you business class backup functionality, so you're protecting not just the data, but you're doing a full image level backup of an environment, which allows you to virtualize it or virtualize it, and either locally or in the cloud. File level recovery. All of the data is backed up to the eFolder cloud so if there ever is a massive disaster, you're safe. And it's flexible and reliable. You can build your own BDR appliance using standard off-the-shelf servers. The software stack is very flexible, so you have a lot of different flexibility in terms of how you do a recovery. And what's unique about eFolder's business model is we only work with managed service providers. So the way we organize accounts, the way the partner portal is organized, it's all multi-tenant. So it's designed for managed service providers who, like Tandem Systems, would have, say, 75 clients. You need to keep all of the data, the account records, the usage straight and clear. You need the portal to be well organized in that manner. And we do all that. And then we let you put your own name on it. We take a back seat to your brand. And, we have all of the right hooks into things like ConnectWise or AutoTask for PSA integration, which is key for managed service providers. So with that, what I want to do at this point is turn the conversation back over to Callum. And if you could, Callum, tell us a little bit about some of the clients that you've deployed. And I want to remind our audience that if you have questions, please start just sharing them with us in the Q&A log, and we will address your questions on the fly or at the end. But Callum, go ahead and talk about, why don't we go to the first client case study.
Okay, so this client case study is a cash and carry business who operate down in central London. They've got, I think it's 12 locations around the London area. In terms of the issues that the business faced prior to us deploying to BDR for ShadowProtect solution, was that they paid a company to back up their data, and they paid quite a chunk of money. They've got currently probably about 20 terabytes of data, and yeah, they paid a company to back up their data for them, and it was straight to cloud. But what we actually found was that it was very, very limited in terms of the restore capabilities, and from a business point of view, it provided very little in terms of options to them. So they were, one of the challenges was their data growth. They were acquiring new sites on quite a regular basis, So we had to look at that and how we could alleviate those issues and mitigate against the, I guess, the financial risk as well to the company of just having this complete unpredictable cost, because their data was growing on such a, such a vast scale, I guess. The costs were completely unpredictable. So in terms of the solution that we deployed, we used the BDR license with the 2 terabyte bundle, which we could pull together. So we could then give them circa 18 to 20 terabytes worth of data, that could back up centrally to one main BDR and head office. So all the other sites now have a NAS on site for local backup and recovery, but all of their data then goes to the central location, and from there it's then copied off into the eFolder cloud. I guess the end result for the business was they're much more leaner in terms of their costs. We've managed to save them a chunk of money, and by consolidating all these licenses and consolidating the storage capacity and pulling all that resource together, we can give them predictable costs moving forward. So the challenge was to provide them with a predictable, scalable solution. So that box was ticked off with the solution that we deployed. They can now quite accurately forecast their cash flow. They can reduce the cash flow, but also increase the productivity and profitability, because they now have known costs, whereas beforehand, costs were completely unpredictable. They were up and down all the time.
Right. And so, Callum, let me add, just to give the audience a little more context. As you noted, one of the big risks for businesses, either because the business is growing very fast, or they happen to be in a category where just data gets created a lot just because of the kind of industry they're in. We see massive amounts of data growth, and they have all different kinds of clients. And really how eFolder's responded to that is what, I think you mentioned it, but I want to make sure it's clear, is what we do is we include a massive amount of storage with every license. So we include 2 terabytes per protected server in the eFolder cloud, and that storage is pooled at the partner level. So partners, eFolder partners like Tandem Systems, are able to balance out the small clients with the big clients, the small servers with the large complex environments, with a lot of agility, and then turn around and be price effective yet still profitable, right?
Absolutely.
With your clients, because of that, that massive amount of storage that we provide in the eFolder cloud. And it wasn't, this is what we've been doing from our Amsterdam Data Center, but it wasn't always this way. We weren't always as generous with the amount of storage, but I think what we've come to realize is that MSPs need a really predictable cost structure over time, and so we've bundled more storage and priced it in a very simple fashion, so you guys can really back of the envelope know what every client deployment is going to cost. It's going to give you a lot of headroom in terms of that, even dealing with data growth. And then, the clients, you're also able to turn around and provide the clients with a predictable cost for their own planning purposes. And everybody wants predictability, I guess. Despite data growth, despite a fast-growing company that's maybe acquiring new locations or whatever, you want that predictability.
Absolutely, Ted. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the dental client.
Okay, so the dental client is a much smaller client of ours. They're a private dentist, and they've only got sort of 10 employees. So, compared to the previous client, it's small fry in comparison. However, their business needs are just as valid as as any other client of ours. They had problems with their prior backup strategy. They were using beforehand semantic backup exec, which was a file level backup. And due to changes in the regulations that they became aware of, the current backup solution just wasn't cutting the mustard in terms of how quickly we could restore data, how well the data itself was protected, and it generally gave it threw up certain other restrictions, which at the point where we were sort of acquiring the eFolder services, it just really fitted exactly what we were hoping to achieve. We wanted to give our clients a complete end-to-end solution which was predictable and scalable. So the problems with the client's prior backup strategy were essentially compliance and limited disaster recovery options. From their point of view, it was important for the client to adopt the continuity solution because they need to be operational 24/7. They're a private dentist. They have employees that work on a rotating shift pattern, so they need to have that constant access to data. And by deploying the eFolder BDR service, I guess it's really enhanced our relationship because we're able to actually show them how the data's backed up. We're able to do test restores on a regular basis for them and replicate certain disasters so that we now have a plan and the customer knows exactly what will happen in the event of a disaster. Whether that be flood, fire, theft, or just simple hardware failure. We've got a complete solution for them now, whereas beforehand, if their server did die, we'd be looking at a few days at least until we got them back up and running because of the limitations with the prior backup solution. We'd have to find replacement hardware, reload everybody's user profiles, etc., and then only once that server is then rebuilt could we then start to load the data on file by file. So their focus, I guess, was mainly around the restore capabilities. And what we found that with most of our customers, yes, they care about backup, but that's not the big issue to our customers. It's how quickly can we restore in the event of a disaster.
Yeah, I think the dental vertical I think is so interesting because everybody sits in the dental chair to get a cleaning. Hopefully everybody's on a regular schedule, but everybody does it. And I think what's really amazing about the dental industry is so much has changed over, say, 10 years in terms of the amount of technology they use day to day in how they do their business. I mean, I literally was having a cleaning on a couple of days ago, and just they were doing the X-rays, and I was talking with the dental hygienist about how much things have changed. And everything used to be on film, and there was a paper stack of paper records that would go up in a file system on the shelf. And now everything is inside of a software application. Every dental chair has a computer workstation, tied back into an on-premise server. All the dentists, it's all about volume of clients and keeping the schedule and keeping people coming in and out. And if you have a server outage, you can't take X-rays, you can't access digital dental records, you can't keep your client schedules. So downtime is, I mean, this is a great example of, downtime is not an option, or downtime would be is a huge headache and a huge cost to them. So a business like this, even if it's small with 10 to 15 employees, they have very big financial incentives to invest in uptime and resiliency in their operation.
Absolutely, Ted. And I think one of the key things that we found on the back of this is that, by deploying this type of solution and by minimizing the risk of downtime, not only does it reduce the immediate financial impact of a disaster, you know, it also reduces the long-term effects from, say, a reputation point of view. You know, a private dentist, you know, people pay good money, you know, to visit a private dentist, and therefore they expect the best service. So, you know, a company like this, or you know, a vertical like this, I think is absolutely ideal for, because they can really protect their reputation. You know, people know that disasters can and do happen, but by being able to restore, you know, data loss in as little as 15 minutes, half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever it may be, you know, is absolutely vital to them for their, you know, for their longevity.
That's right. So let's go to the next and last example. It's an architectural design firm.
So I've not got the slide in front of me, but oh yes, it should come up now. So the architectural design firm, they had prior to deploying eFolder, they had an old sort of tape autoloader. So again, it was file level backup. It was big and it was cheap, but because of the amount of data that this company has, that was at the time the only sort of viable solution for them. You know, they had terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data. And as Ted mentioned earlier on, you know, eFolder have quite generously, you know, given partners, including ourselves, you know, a heck of a lot of storage included with each BDR license. So it's actually really opened up to otherwise untapped markets, or what would have been unprofitable markets for us, because we'd have to squeeze our margins so low, you know, because we were being charged on a per gigabyte basis. So with the introduction of the bundled storage, we were able to approach our customer and explain the benefits and you know, the features of going with an image-based, cloud-based backup solution, and I mean, they got it straight away. You know, they're quite sort of tech savvy anyway. You know, they like to constantly look at ways how technology can help better them as a business. But yeah, in terms of what we're now able to offer for them, you know, again, it's sort of replicating what we've done with the dentist. You know, we're able to give them a full turnkey BDR solution. So it's not just backup, it's not just recovery, it's the whole solution. And again, because of the demands that their clients place on this architectural design firm, they need constant access to data. And I think one thing that we've not touched on so far, well, what I've not sort of gone through so far, is the actual BDR appliance itself. So, you know, historically, when we've sort of deployed backup solutions, it's typically been to, you know, third-party software like Symantec, for example. But when we actually got introduced to eFolder at the Autotask Live community, you know, the service offering at the time was unique. And being able to offer that additional level of redundancy, you know, really sort of set us apart from our competitors as well. You know, because as Ted was saying before, you know, clients nowadays, you know, regardless whether they're a one-man band or a 1,000 employee large enterprise, downtime is just not an option. You know.
So we've talked a lot about how, you know, how in each one of these case studies, how it was a really great fit, and the clients, for them, it really clicked. It was very obvious why the upgraded solution made sense, solved all these problems, and was like the right price point. That's not always the case, you know, in terms of clients immediately getting it and it clicking. You know, what are some of the objections that you get, and how do you explain that? I mean, or what are the sales tips that you would provide to other MSPs?
So typically, the objections that we'll often come across is cost. You know, and and also, I guess, a reluctance to change. And I think despite the era that we're in, I think certainly for small businesses, there's still this sort of air of uncertainty around cloud computing and the whole concept. So those are the main objections that we come across. But by sort of stripping it back and taking a business level, approach to it, and doing things like downtime cost reports and analysis on the current solution versus the proposed solution, we're able to then articulate at a business level what the benefits are, and again, it comes back to sort of having predictable service costs. It comes back to having a solution that will scale with the business. For most, 2 terabytes, is more than enough for our customers. But just having that capability built in, or that sort of buffer built in, that we can essentially go to our customers and provide them with an unlimited option, an unlimited storage option in some cases. But by doing that, we can accurately predict their costs moving forward, which in turn then brings down the total cost of ownership, because they're not then having to go out and and constantly upgrade or constantly change solutions and go through that upheaval of changing different solutions. So we can give them a full turnkey solution that is not only good now, but it's going to be good for them in 2-3 years time. And I think that's really, really important, especially to the small business market, where the businesses can change very quickly. One big job and all of a sudden the business doubles in size. And that in itself brings challenges, but by having that sort of that peace of mind and knowing that no matter what happens, even if God forbid the place burnt down, that business is still operational.
Right. So definitely it's about making that ultimate promise of no matter what happens, your productivity is going to be protected. Is key. I think another thing to reinforce with clients is in most cases it's not going to be a fire or a flood or some sort of natural disaster which renders you out of operation. It's going to be more what we call everyday disasters, and I think one of the big ones today that we see very commonly is security problems, malware infections, especially the crypto locker variety, where you have forms of malware that make it through all the other kind of layers of defense that you normally put up, and you get a whole server or a workstation completely encrypted and under ransom, if you will, of one of these crypto locker attacks. That's something that if you don't have a business continuity solution in place, can be days or a week to get resolved properly. And we see that all the time. And what a lot of MSPs tell us is CryptoLocker alone almost makes a BDR class solution mandatory for all clients, because you may have a file level backup solution would probably defend you against the worst case scenario where you had your data was encrypted, it was under ransom, and you couldn't get it back, or you didn't want to. Of course, you should never fall prey to the ransom. But a lot of MSPs just look at the situation and the inability of all the security solutions on the market to guarantee 100% that you're going to block everything. Just makes it so you need that last line of defense, and that last line of defense is having a business continuity or BDR solution in place. So with that, let's talk a little bit about real quick, I guess, just kind of the margins you guys see on a monthly basis. This is the number you shared with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sort of varies from client to client, but typically, we'll make between sort of 50 and 75% margins, which compared to having to go to a third-party, software vendor such as Symantec, for example, because we're able to brand this as our own and white label it, we're pretty much in control. So it does vary from client to client, but I would say that number's pretty accurate. So it's definitely a profitable solution, far more profitable than having to rely on third-party vendors.
Yep. So with that, again, I would like to encourage our attendees today to ask any questions in the last couple of minutes here. But just to kind of wrap up with a couple thoughts, as we mentioned in today's discussion, it's really the way to sell business continuity, if you will, is to really have a discussion with your clients around the cost of downtime and the benefits of the uptime and resiliency and business continuity that you can ensure with a solution like eFolder BDR for ShadowProtect. Try to quantify them. One of the marketing tools we're going to share in just a minute here, we have a downtime cost calculator, which is a very simple calculator. It all comes down to what is the hard costs of downtime are lost revenue and lost productivity. You're paying people to work, and are they able to work? And you're trying to generate revenue in a given business day, and are you generating revenue? And then, those are the main ways to go about articulating the economic benefits to clients. And then, of course, there are the other soft costs, right? Downtime can cause reputational risk or loss of brand reputation, and with clients or with your clients' customers and clients that they serve. And so those are kind of the soft costs. But really, I think if you just calculate things based upon the hard costs alone, for a client to invest in business continuity, it has a really strong ROI. So just to give a context to the UK or European partners who are on the phone today, as we mentioned today, all of the data from our European partners gets backed up to our Amsterdam Data Center. And we price the solution either in pounds or euros, and we make it really simple to digest. There's one fixed price per protected server per month, and it includes 2 terabytes of storage in the eFolder cloud, and all of that storage then gets pooled at the partner level, allowing you to nimbly balance the small clients with the large and the big servers with the small. And then as you grow over time and add more servers, your price per server goes down. So as you went from 49 servers to 50 servers, your price would drop for all 50 servers down to £47 per month, as an example. So that's how the pricing works. eFolder's Amsterdam Data Center has been operating for just under a year now. eFolder has 4 data centers worldwide: Atlanta, Georgia, Salt Lake City in Utah. We have a data center in Kelowna, British Columbia in Canada, and now Amsterdam. We're doing business today with around 2,600 managed service providers worldwide, and we're adding 50 to 75 new partners every month. Want to mention a tool we're going to be sending to everybody today, which is called the eFolder Business Continuity Playbook. This is an end-to-end kit of marketing and selling tools that a managed service provider can use to educate your clients on the need for business continuity. So not every client, immediately, the light bulb goes off and gets it. Many clients need to be educated about the rich solutions that are available even for small businesses today to guarantee their uptime. And all of these marketing tools allow you to do that. There's all of this is generically branded. So the tools are either completely brand neutral in the case of the video or the PowerPoint presentations that are in here, or all of the other tools you can use conventional file formats like Microsoft Word to take all the copy points, pull them into your own brochures or collateral, or just use just rebrand it in Microsoft Word in the most simple case. So a really rich set of tools that are available to MSPs to go out and educate clients and promote a business continuity solution. So with that, let's go to the Q&A log here and just see if there's any specific questions. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about, so Helen asked a question just about branding. Could we speak a little bit more about that? Yeah, I mean, one of the I mentioned it just with the marketing tools, but eFolder's approach is we go through managed service providers, and we don't take calls from a support perspective directly from end users. We rely on our managed service providers to sell, promote, do the deployments, manage the clients, and we're the second tier. So we kind of start with the cloud and then arrive to you, and it's your brand that is represented to the client. And that's really important for a lot of MSPs, because building value in your business is all around running a profitable business, first of all. Today, investors or anyone who might want to acquire your business is going to look for recurring revenue, and then also, you know, having sticky client relationships where they rely on you, they know you, and they value you, is all about going out and building your own brand. And eFolder understands that intimately because we've been doing business with MSPs for so long, and that's our unique go-to-market model. And it really is a huge advantage for MSPs who are really doing the right things in terms of building their own brand. So all of our solutions are white labeled and can be rebranded. eFolder completely can be hidden in the background. And nevertheless, we are very passionate about helping partners with marketing tools to go out and you know, sell these solutions. So.
I'd just like to add to that as well, Ted, sorry to interrupt, but by being able to market the services as our own, as Tandems, we've actually been able to displace other cloud-based competitors with very little objection from customers. So, you know, and it's actually been able to, well, that has then translated into reduced costs for us. We're able to give customers more for less, or more for the same price, but our sort of, you know, our costs come down considerably.
Yeah, and I think you know, a lot of informed clients will always ask about the brand names they've heard about either on the radio or in television programming or whatever. And so there are, you know, there's always branded competition in the market, but it really comes down to, are you dealing with a client who's fully independent, maybe has their own IT department? Most small and medium businesses do not. They can't afford that kind of overhead. They can't afford that level of, you know, on-site assistance, and they can't do it themselves, and they're not going to do it correctly. And so competing against the big brands is often easy because the big brands can't make the same promises that a managed service provider can when they're backed up with a solution that, like something that we've talked about today. So it's really about that promise, and it's usually easy to overcome even the more informed client objections, like, well, what about brand XYZ? You know, and it's all about really making a service level promise to those clients, and that's the easiest way to handle the brand objection, I think. So, any final questions? Okay. Well, just a reminder to everybody who joined us, we will be sending you copies of today's slides, a link to the Business Continuity Playbook. Today's session has been recorded and will be available on eFolder's YouTube channel. So if you have a colleague or a business partner who you think this would be a good use of 50 minutes of their time, do point them, just go to the eFolder YouTube channel by tomorrow and it will be posted. Callum, thank you very much for spending a part of your day with me and to share it with our you know, prospective partners here on the line.
That's okay. Thank you, Ted.
Okay, with that, we're going to wrap up here. Everyone have a nice, productive day. And this is Ted Hulsy with eFolder signing off from the eFolder Partner Chat. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay.